Hello, welcome to the self-learning podcast by Dr. Sushma Singh. Let us start discussion on Unit 9, Typologies of Cities. Cities and towns have become dominant features of the spatial landscape, laying down a framework of human existence throughout the world. In the developed world presently, the transformation from rural to urban lifestyles occurred during the 19th and early 20th century. The role of cities and towns has been important in the development, maintenance, and expansion of all great civilizations throughout recorded history. Thus, cities have held a central role in the political, social, and cultural life of almost all parts of the world and in almost all stages of human history. Now, let us discuss the point city emergence and growth. The growth of cities unleashed revolutionary changes. There emerged several towns and cities which were the main place for the rulers and the tradesmen in those times. Towns and cities are of many kinds: temple towns, garrison towns, seaports, political capitals or administrative towns, resort centers, industrial cities, trading centers, and other types of cities. The company towns are a unique kind of community which has nearly disappeared. Most large cities are diversified, carrying out a number of activities simultaneously. Modern Indian cities have generally undergone a well-defined socio-historical growth process. Though the origin of cities permit a great deal of speculation by associating it with colonial period or modernization, it transcends the realms of speculation. It is to be viewed through a definite framework both as a dynamic social process as well as a result of specific social trends. These specific social trends were unleashed in the 18th century when the rise of scientific technology and the accumulation of capital took place. In the colonial period, the urban centers were used as the suppliers of a number of raw materials as well as consumers of foreign products. The old urban centers went through transformations. Some became solely military centers, while others were filled with the labor force and industries. However, all the features of the western cities are not seen in Indian urban areas, even though their growth coincided with the growth of large-scale industrial and modern capitalism. According to Adna Weber, concentration of people into cities was a product of the economic forces which were becoming significant with the Industrial Revolution, which introduced changes such as steam power, mechanization, and trade and commerce, etc. The political causes of the emergence of the cities were as legislation on promoting freedom of trade, legislation promoting freedom of migration, centralized administration with its location of persons in civic centers, free forms of land tenure politically defended in the city, The social causes were education, amusements, higher standards of living, attraction of intellectual association, habituation of an urban environment, and diffusion of knowledge of the values of city life. In ancient India, there were no great differences between a village and a town. Some essential conditions and requirements gave rise to towns and cities in India. The first and foremost factor among them is the availability of water. Second, the place must offer good possibilities of defense. The third essential condition was the easy supply of foodstuffs. Finally, communication lines were also a factor determining the fortune of the city. In the 3rd millennium BC, the first probable urban civilization emerged in India in the Indus Valley with Mohenjo-daro and Harappa as the most elaborate urban forms. According to Gordon, the foundation of the city of Mohenjo-daro was laid around 2600 BC. Then the Aryan version of urbanization took its root around 600 BC. During the times of the Mahabharata, there were a number of cities like Hastinapur, Indraprastha, Mathura, Kanya-Kabja, and cities like Kashi and Kaushambi. Urbanization during the Mughal period spread out all the way from north to south, east to west. In the colonial period, the urban upsurge in India began after the First World War. The three major port towns, Calcutta, Bombay, and Madras, owe their existence to these developments. Now let us wind up the session and take rest. Thank you very much for engaging yourself with the self-learning podcast.